Stronger.
Imagine a world without choices.
Stronger.
Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. You, I see.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. The objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together. Come, we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you.
UIC Liberty TV. Change you can trust.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson, and we're going to be talking about reggae and revolution today. Our guest is going to be Young GARVEY, one of our young and up-and-coming reggae artists who specializes in the traditional form of reggae, trying to preserve and maintain reggae in its more holistic and positive form. Mr. Young GARVEY is going to join us soon. He's having some technical difficulties. Hope I can get him on very soon. Let me see here, quick test. Mr. Young GARVEY, are you there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? I'm not hearing you. Sorry, say that again. Can you hear me? Looks like he has some technical difficulties still. So I'm seeing him on camera here, but I'm not hearing him clearly. But as I said before, we're going to be talking about reggae. As you know, reggae is a very important part of Jamaican history. Now we're getting a feedback from your end.
Yeah, me I hear the feedback. Me I try
Yeah, so you're gonna have to take off whatever it is that you have playing. You can't have it playing outside of your system. So you have to have your microphone and maybe so fix your setting. All right, so he's working on this setting. Now he's setting himself sideways. See a video turn sideways now. You have to put it back around. We'll get it right. We'll soon get it right. While we're waiting for him to fix his audio and video, I want to just tell you the fact that the song you heard earlier, this song, let me see if I can play it for you. You heard it earlier. This song was written and sung by this young man on behalf of the UIC, and it was unsolicited. He did this on his own. This was his own invention. He decided to make this, for us. Let me see if I can just play it for you again.
Stronger.
Imagine a world without choices.
Stronger.
Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. You, I see.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I.
Yeah, so this was written and sung by Young GARVEY, who's going to join us tonight. Hopefully we can get his video and audio sorted out. Let me see here if he's back with us. Mr. Young GARVEY, are you there? Can you hear me? All right, look like he's still having some challenges there. So good night and welcome to all of you. Welcome Lenford Wilson and Juliet Chambers and all of you are online here. While we're waiting for him, maybe we can talk a little bit about anything you have on your mind. How was your day today? Do you have anything you saw in the news that's of interest to you that you want to talk about? Top of mind for me right now is a few things I've seen. The situation in the schools. We're losing a lot of teachers in quick succession. But the truth is, it's not new that we're losing teachers, but it's very alarming that we continue to lose teachers, and at such a fast rate. So we train them, they work for a little bit, and then they're gone. So our kids are always getting young, freshly minted teachers who are not necessarily very experienced in the field. And so we're having a problem. One of the reasons why we have a failure rate of somewhere in the region of 70+% every year. Blessings, Delton Hamilton and Carol Spence. Good to see you on. Good night, VP Coretta Brown Johnson. Good to see you on as well. We're hoping to get young Garvey back. He's having some challenges with his connection. But let's look at some history now concerning the matter of reggae. If you were to just look it up online, it will tell you that reggae is a style of popular music with a strongly accented subsidiary beat. What does that mean? A strongly accented subsidiary beat. They're speaking about our local Jamaican vernacular, the way we speak, the way we chat, the way we talk. And as if we're not all accented around the world. If you go to India, you have the Indian accent, and you go to China, you have the Chinese accent. You go to America, you have different accents in different states. You go to Trinity, you get one accent. You go to Barbados, you get another accent. So there's no need to say an accented subsidiary beat. It's just a Jamaican beat, the Jamaican way, our way of chatting, our way of talking, our way of entertaining. And it's a very beautiful culture if we can preserve it for what it really is. My favorite form of patois is Louise Bennett. It's a very sweet and melodious form of patois. I don't like the aggressive version. It sounds like I want to beat up somebody. I like the nice poetic version. What is your take? What kind of patois do you like? Welcome, cool guy. Always wonder who sing this song. You're going to meet him tonight. It's Mr. Young Garvey, Stronger Together. He fully captures the values of the UIC system of protecting individual rights, protecting your liberty, protecting your individual sovereignty. Similar to what we spoke about last night with Mr. Corbin from Barbados. So the definition goes on. It says reggae evolved in the 1960s. So just about around the time when we're getting our fake independence. It came out of ska, which is authentic to Jamaica, and other local varieties, including calypso and rhythm and blues, jazzy. So Jamaicans, we've always been very creative. We mix and mingle. Like patois, is a mixture of different languages, a mixture of our own indigenous African languages, French and English and Spanish. We know how to mix things up and make them work. It's like if you were brought up in a home like myself, in a single parent home where you have to turn your hand and make fashion. So my mother would have to turn her hand and make fashion, make things work and make ends meet when they can't even meet. I don't know how she do it, but she had three of us who lived in a one-room house with a bed. I remember the house. It's a room, actually, not even a house, a room we lived in. And it had two windows on two of the sides, and one door in and one door out. There's no bathroom inside. And we had a bed pushed up against one of the window. And on the other side, we had a gray table with the aluminum-looking feet. And beside that was a small two-burner gas stove, little two-burner with the things and the foot them on it, and it's no oven. and then you push up another corner the small cylinder. And then behind me, you know, on the other wall was this cabinet and a black and white TV on the top of it, which I configured myself and was able to pick up some Cuban channels. And that was it. So when you walk into our home, which was one room, you only had a small space in the middle, like almost the size of a coffin space, pretty much, you know, and you kind of turn around in that. And you had the chimney under the bed, because if you want to wee at night, you can't go, you don't want to go outside because you're afraid of duppy and all them things there. So, you know, you have the chimney under the bed, and you know how it's smelly in the morning and stuff. So that was life, you know. And my mother, with these 3 children, had to find a way to survive. And so reggae actually come out of those experiences. When you hear, you know, a song like No Woman No Cry or Baby Don't Worry, you know, these are songs that are reflective of our journey as a people. Yeah. And so reggae is a very special kind of music. In fact, I always tell people music is an expression of culture. It's an expression of a people's experience. And so if you hear certain kind of music today, I know it might sound horrible and even grotesque, but it's really a reflection of what is happening in the culture, what is shaping the minds of the people. And sometimes we say music has a negative influence on our children, but the truth is, at least from my perspective, as bad as it is, the music is really a reflection of what our children are hearing and experiencing otherwise, you know. And so reggae came at a time when we were becoming culturally aware of the need to break away from the colonial masters, to break away from colonialism and imperialism, like you're seeing now, the second awakening that's happening now in recent months or few years. So back then we were yearning for, and you'll find reggae has, I would say maybe 3 or 4 components to it. And you'll see that coming out in the different strains of songs, you know. But it's a unique genre. Reggae, to me, was born out of the Jamaican experience of political corruption, engineered poverty, organized crime. These 3 things were commingling to shape the experience of the Jamaican people. We were just coming out of the being directly controlled by our colonial masters to now having people who look like we or identify with we, you know, beginning to assert themselves as potential leaders and leaders, starting actually back in the 1930s or 20s even, because Marcus Garvey kind of kicked things off in the late 20s, early 30s, and the 2 colonial parties came about in the early, the late part of the 30s, going into 1944, we had our first universal suffrage or one man, one vote experience. And so from then on, from the 1940s, you had people who look like us who are now allowed to sit in the Legislative Assembly. Of course, they were kept in check by a white governor, and the Senate or the House of Lords, where, you know, those people are appointed by the governor so they can control things and keep us in check. But from then on, from 44 to 62, that 18-year period, we were beginning to kind of awaken in ourselves a greater desire for self-governance and so on. And we were led by some people. It turned out later on that they were kind of fake and false, because they were really acting on behalf of others while pretending to be acting on our behalf. But very soon in that process, political corruption began to creep in. The politician giving people guns, and the politicians creating garrisons, the politician giving criminals government contracts, and all that kind of stuff. So when you hear our early reggae singers singing, they're talking about this experience. They're also talking about the poverty, and they knew instinctively that the poverty that they were experiencing were engineered. It wasn't normal. You see, when you have normal poverty, which is simply a people just emerging out of one phase of existence into another through the normal course of civilization, you will see that they're more cohesive. They work together. There's less theft, murders. It's more like communal. But when you have engineered poverty, which creates significant income disparity between the haves and the have-nots, between a few versus the majority, then you have a different feeling here: animosity, anger, tension. And so I call that engineered poverty. And coming out of all of that mix is organized crime. Because when you have politicians, for example, going into a community and taking some young men and organizing them and giving them guns and helping them to form a posse and then a gang, and to help to engineer who go and get the vote and stealing ballot boxes, that too creates another element to the mix which influences the music. So reggae speaks to the need for love. The slave came out of a situation where we weren't allowed to marry normally, or if you're married, you can't have consistency. You might be sold off. And so the relationship had broken down a lot between male and female because of what had gone on through the slavery experience. And it continued. One man in Jamaica had like 50 women, and that kind of stuff. So, and that experience brings pain, sorrow, joy, desire. And so you hear that being sung in our music, that element of love, the desire for love, the desire for the family, the desire for the woman, for the man, and you hear that part of it. Then you have the other part now, which is the hatred of war, which comes out as well. It has always been a thing where reggae music hits out against war. And normally it's talking about the global warfares, the Cold War between the West and Russia and the USSR, between factions within countries, and gang violence between communities. So reggae speaks to that in the music and talks about the war and the hatred for war, the desire to end war and to bring peace and love and harmony and unity. So that again you hear in the song. And then you go now to this desire for an African renaissance, an African rebirth, an African reunion, an African revolution against the systems of colonialism and imperialism. So that too is evident in the song and can be very strong. And when they say, Jah, Rastafari, it's with that desire for the Rastaman coming out of course, Haile Selassie and the experience of Ethiopia, to rise up and become the king over his own domain and to reign again and to have supremacy again and to no longer be under the thumb of the foreign masters. And so that's the ethos of the reggae music that we hear, all the time. So I'm still waiting for Mr. Young Garvey to join us. I guess he's still having some problems coming on. So Mr. Wade Noble says education is the right tool to do so, which is to do what? None but ourselves can free our minds. And that is critical because I tell you something, we use the word education very loosely and very free. But you can be educated for evil, you can be educated for good. You can be educated to be a slave, or you can be educated to be a free man or woman. You can be educated to be a thinker or to be a follower. I tell people, don't be a follower, be a student, learn, and then use the learning to guide you, in your life. So it's not enough to be educated. It is important to be rightly educated, to have the right education. And that's why the UIC's approach to education is very different from what you see today and what we have experienced as children. Our form of education begins and places the preeminence on you mastering yourself first and foremost. That is a critical element. It's not for you to master math and English and science. Those are very important, but they're not as important as you, the individual, having a mastery of yourself, understanding you. If you understood yourself, if I understood myself, if we as a people understood ourselves, we would not be reliant on importation of foreign medicines. We would not be today reliant on importation of food from other countries. We would understand the importance of having healthy bodies and putting good food in at the right time, in the right proportion, getting the right quality to give us the kind of blood that we need to run through our veins, to give us the kind of energy and the kind of stamina and the kind of intellect to be brilliant people, so that we are the creators of our own industries and our own tools and our equipment and the things we need to become a massively wealthy country. But because we don't have that kind of education, we simply regurgitate everything. We just kind of take whatever they give us and we regurgitate. So we buy their phones, we buy their cars, we buy whatever they steal, and we're not in charge of our own destiny. We're being led by somebody else. So understanding self is critical in the UIC's education model. Understanding your mind, understanding your body, understanding your personality, understanding why your character is your greatest credit rating. It's your credit score. It is your most important asset, the kind of character that you develop, the kind of philosophy that you hold in your mind. When you have the wrong philosophy, you become a victim, you become dependent, you become weak, you become incompetent. But when you have a philosophy that inspires you to realize that God has given you the same ability, the same competences or ability to acquire competences like any other man on this earth or woman on this earth, then you will spend your time developing that precious asset between your two ears and maximizing its potential so that you can be a value added to society and not a value detractor or distraction or subtraction. So I was talking about reggae and we kind of gone off into education, but I want you to know that a miseducated person is weakened on every level. But back on the subject of reggae here. So in this episode of UIC Liberty TV, what I want to do is to reason with somebody I call an authentic reggae artist, because he's really about preserving the authenticity of reggae and to preserve that and preserve our culture in the process. So we're going to discuss that tonight. So I hope he's able to come on very soon. We're going to discuss the state of reggae as a genre. We're going to talk about dancehall music if he comes on. We're going to look at the socio-political revolution that needs to take place and which is in some respect taking place in Africa and the African diaspora right now. So one of the reasons I brought him on is because voluntarily, of his own will, he wrote the song you hear playing every day on UIC Liberty TV, Stronger Together. He was preceded by a gentleman by the name of Ricardo White, who wrote the song Real Man Road for the UIC as well. And these persons did this without any compensation. They were not commissioned to write the song. They were not paid to write the song or to sing the song, but they did. So we're really proud of these two young men who stood up and tried to add value to the movement to help us to propel forward. So hats off to them. Now, come October 22nd, I believe the date is, we're going to be having an awards ceremony, a human rights award dinner in honor of, a number of Jamaicans who have done outstanding things like what these two young men have done. And they're marginalized. They're not seen by the traditional establishment. But we're going to honor and award those persons who have been doing outstanding work. You have some vloggers out there who are doing outstanding work to highlight things happening in our country which traditional media wouldn't touch or wouldn't give us that flavor or that context. So we're going to highlight those outstanding persons and award them for what they're doing. So whether it's in music or in citizen journalism or in medicine, there are some doctors, for example, who have stood up against the globalist agenda, against those who want to, shut us up and shut us down and force us to take whatever they want to give us. So we're going to honor those persons and showcase them and say, this is what we want. We want independent thinkers, people who value the importance of rights, who value the importance of freedom of choice and freedom of movement and freedom of association. So we want to look at those persons whose society, the mainstream society, the elitist society, marginalizes them and push them aside. Like Fred Corbin from Barbados last night, he would be one of the persons who would receive a award at our awards function. And then there are some people, I won't tell you the names, but you see them out there doing excellent work. Might be different sometimes, might be a little crude compared to what we're used to, but they're still doing a good job of identifying issues in the country and communicating that, across the board. So people can think about it from another perspective, which is what we do here at UIC Liberty TV. We bring to you a perspective that mainstream media will not bring to you. For example, when we go in and dig into the issue of the so-called Central Bank of Jamaica, where they tell us it's the Bank of Jamaica, but it's not. And, we look at the issues and tell you, or they try to use fake statistics about unemployment rate being 4.25%, and we show you that that is not true. Or we explain to you what is a fake republic versus a real one and explain what you need to look for. And we also explain to you what is good governance versus bad, why we need to have a constitutional replacement versus a reform. So we're very diligent in helping people to understand the story behind the story, to understand the facts that are hidden, and to show you things that appears to be facts but are not, or the deception which is hidden within words and phrases. So that's our job, that's our role, that's what the UIC is all about. We're here we like to say, to unite, to liberate, and empower. And those are three powerful words. The truth is, as long as we remain divided as a people, when you have, in Africa, when the colonial powers went there in Africa to subdue that beautiful continent, which is so large and so rich and have so much to offer the world, when the European countries went there to colonize and to plunder, if those tribes were able to quickly unite, and if they had leaders who were able to show them in the future where this is going. Yes, right now they're giving you nice shiny objects, and they're just telling you to go into the inland and capture a few of your tribal enemies and bring them to us, and we'll give you more shiny objects, we'll give you guns and ammunition to go and kill them off. If you had leaders, visionary leaders, and when you talk about leaders, the number one quality of a leader should be integrity, and then the number two must be vision. So you must have integrity, you must be trustworthy, you must mean what you say and say what you mean, and you must carry out what you agree to. And then you have to have vision, you have to have foresight, and the ability to forecast. And so great leaders are able to look into the future, the distant future, and say, if this continues, where will it lead? Or what is being presented to us right now? Yes, it might look nice and shiny, but what is the underlying impact of this? What will this do to us in the long haul? Short term, yeah, we borrow a whole heap of money right now and we spend lavishly on some stuff right now, but where will that leave us 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And that's why I have such great admiration for Lee Kuan Yew as a leader, because he was able to clearly articulate a vision to his people, convince them to elect him to carry out that vision. He had the integrity to stick to the vision that he articulated, and he had the wisdom to not follow what seemed expedient, like our Jamaican politicians. They were quick to borrow a whole heap of money and just spend frivolously and then leave us with a massive debt and then tell us to ban our belly over and over again. We're always banning our belly. Every single solitary election after election, when they wait were to ban our belly and they're going to fix it. And all it has done is squeeze our belly to nothing. But he was able to take his people on a journey of transformation, a journey of renewal, a journey of making themselves over, a changeover of their culture. He changed everything that was unhelpful to the Singaporean people and made them one of the richest nations on earth. I know we can do the same thing here in Jamaica. We just need to follow the right leaders. There's some people who are offering themselves to you as leaders. They use deception, they use lies, they use trickery, and then they tell you to follow them. And I always say to people, if you win an election using deception, you're going to be only a deceptive leader. You can never change. You're still going to be deceptive. If you win through deception, if you win through lying, you're going to be a liar. You're going to be a deceiver. And that's going to continue with you. And that is why, no matter how often you elect any of these two parties, deception, lying, stealing, it's in their DNA. So it will never, they cannot change. No matter how, even if they want to change, they just can't change. It's in the DNA. So you might be saying to yourself, I'm looking forward to the next party out of the two winning the next election. You're wishing in vain. Even if they win, there'll be no value added. You'll simply be changing who will be doing the stealing, who will be doing the destroying. And yes, their approaches are different. I know that. When one is in power, they will give away more freebies to the poor. When the other one is in power, they're a little bit more grabalicious and give more freebies to the rich, so to speak. And so you might have a preference for one because of that. But the bottom line is this. Whether they give some freebies to the poor or to the rich, the amount which is stolen leaves all of us poorer. We have poor roads, poor schools, poor hospitals, poor economy, lack of jobs, low wages, high crime. Yeah. So even if you like the kind of corruption of Party A or the kind of corruption of Party B, you're still going to end up with corruption. You're going to end up with a loss overall. So you may get a small benefit. Right now in my constituency, there's a young lady going around giving away freebies. She's giving away school supplies. She's having bounce about and invite the kids out and get them to jump up and down. And all they're doing is trading. They're trading. They're giving you some sweetie today to sweet you up to get your votes so that they can go in and then rape you. So you're going to get $1 and they're going to steal 20. And the cost of that 20 that they steal will pass down to you in bad roads, bad schools, bad hospitals, bad economy, bad everything. So you're going to pay the price. That small token that they gave you to win your loyalty, the small token they gave you to buy your vote. And it might seem big to you. They give you a goat, or they give you a zinc, or they give you a bag of cement, or a bag of fertilizer, or they gave your kids some school books, or they paid a school fee. And you feel good. You say, boy, a good man that, a good MP that man, you see, because they give you these little things. But the little things they gave you is a replacement for the big things that you need. The big things that you need was the opportunity to get a decent job, the opportunity to earn a decent wage, the opportunity to build and live in a decent home, the opportunity to drive on good, solid roads so you can get to and fro quickly, efficiently, safely, and comfortably, to have safe communities, clean communities with proper gardens and park, playground areas, library, community center. That's really what you need, not the sweetie, not the little nice up at election time that they're doing now. So she's running around my constituency, giving away this and giving away that, and the people Some people get excited and think that is good. They've done this to you for 80 years now. 80 years. Look at the country. Look at the state of our nation. 80 years, that's the kind of politics that they have played with you. Now, when I come to you, what do I say to you? I have no sweet to forgive you. What I'm offering you is a chance for good leadership, good governance, so you can finally have a decent shot at enjoying a decent life in a decent country. That's what I'm offering. And that's what I've worked for. I've spent all my years studying and figuring out how we can make Jamaica a great nation, not just in sports, not just in music, not just in entertainment, but a great nation in good governance. So we can have broad-based prosperity, not just this narrow thing where a few of us get a break, or get a blight because of our connection. Yeah. So I see Jam Flick saying cultural tourism is a multi-billion industry worldwide. Jamaican government failed to invest in infrastructure such as concert halls, music classes, staging and promoting destination festivals, etc. And Lloyd Smith says Jamaican voters do not vote for policy. And Mila Rebel says, every day I have conversations about the only positive movement in Jamaica. And Roy McLean says, if you get in power, would you take back the land that the government gave to China or through the gate already? If the UIC is elected, we're going to reverse every wrong and bad policy that we can reverse. That includes any negotiation that the government has entered into. Of course, we'll have to do so delicately and carefully, so we balance correcting the error with not making the situation worse. So we'll have a balanced approach to get there. But the good thing is, we have a lot of land still in Jamaica that needs to be placed in the hands of the people. The Jamaican people must become all Jamaicans. Once your parents or your foreparents were enslaved here, you are entitled to this land. It belongs to you. It doesn't belong to the government. It doesn't belong to the crown. And it definitely doesn't belong to any foreigners coming here. It belongs to you. So the UIC government is going to reverse that and make sure we give you what is yours by birthright. So we're going to be working at that. If we miss the chance, everything we eat, our dinners, I'm not sure I understand that, Mila. I will stand with the UIC movement. Thank you, Mila. Much appreciated. So I'm still waiting for Mr. Garvey to join us. So let's look at one of his songs. I'll play one of his songs for you, so you can get a feel for. I'm going to show. I think I have a music video of what one of the ones he did. So let's take a look here. Let me get that for you as quickly as possible. Which one will it be now? Let me start with the song No War, since I was talking about that earlier on. So I'll start with that one, No War, by Mr. Young Garvey.
All these discussions about weapons of mass destruction. Everywhere is war. A big war all around. Nothing to sell life on the ground. So tell them, say, we don't want no war, oh yeah. Oh yeah, get the people. I just peace and love beyond. Na na na. Boy, say we don't want no war, oh yeah. Give us a little peace of mind. And we don't want go another grave side. No. Tired to hear a bag of gunshot. Every day an execution. Do you know how it feels to see your mother bawling? Gunshot, kill a son, it don't want it. I know I'm finna more funerals. Get the youths, get more spiritual. Stop acting like you not believe in a Jah. Jah just said thou shalt not kill, so stop the blood from spill. Yeah. Hey, we don't want no war, oh yeah. Oh yeah, get the people. I just peace and love beyond. give us a little peace of mind. And we no want go another night. No, I'm crying out the trench town. I don't want hear no gun sound. Rose town and Anna town. Too much dead body I see lay on the ground. Him in a Spanish town. I beg you stop all the shooting. Senseless executed. Far from amusing. How they get that you abusing. Then you wonder why they get a losing. I hope one day my people will just realize the system they designed is not for you and I. Hey, USA have them nuclear weapon. Hey, war on them number one plan. The Russians have them nuclear weapon. Hey, war on them number one plan. North Korea have them nuclear weapon. Hey, war on them number one plan. Just look on the thing with them nuclear weapon. War is the number one plan. I see say a disaster them want for the land, but righteousness overthrow them plan. So tell them say we don't want no war. Oh yeah, get the people. I just peace and love beyond ya. Oh yeah, nah. Boy, say we don't want no war. Oh yeah, give us a little peace of mind. Hey, we no want go another night. Hey, we no want go another night. Another night. Oi, hey, we no want go another grave side. Another grave side. Oi, hey, we no want go another night. Another night. Hey, we no want go. 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 Righteousness prevail. Here the eye. Empress men in the balance, you know. Good over evil, love conquers all. Ionize the positive thinking equal to positive results. Free your mind from negativity. Only love should set us free. Up and active.
Yeah, so we don't want another night. We don't want no more war. We want peace. We want harmony. You know, one of the best ways to achieve harmony in a country is where it's built on the philosophy that every man has a right to do what he wants with his life, his liberty, and his property, provided he does not use force or fraud to infringe on the life, liberty, or property rights of somebody else. When you have a truly free and fair market economy where there's equal opportunity, where everyone can trade value for value with each other without a third party or a monopolistic authority or any other form of legalized criminal activity preventing him or her from doing so, when there's no extortion from illegal or legal criminals, from criminals in uniforms or criminals who are not covered directly by the law. When you can have a society like that, and by the way, it's not impossible. When I talk sometimes, I know people think it's far-fetched, it can't be done, but it has been done. And I'm so happy that, Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, a smaller country than us by size, that they are able to create an economy where you can leave your wares out. You just pull a little thing over it, or you just put a marker to show the line that separates your store from the next store and go home. And there is a 99% chance that when you come, nothing will be removed from your store. You want to create a culture of anti-corruption like what they have done by attacking corruption from the top down and building the economy from the bottom up. When you build a bottom-up economy where the smallest of person, the most insignificant of person, the lowest educated person can have confidence that if they apply themselves, if they work hard, and work smart, they can achieve anything they set their mind to within that economy. When you make people feel like there's hope in their own country, that if they stay here for their entire lives, they'll be able to live a decent life, a safe life in a clean and orderly environment where all they have to do is to make sure that they work for what they want. And nobody, be it the government or some other form of criminals, will not have an easy time in taking it away from them. Or no one is going to prevent them from advancing simply because they're not attached to this party or to that party or connected to this person or to that person. By merit, they can rise. By merit, they can achieve any status within that society. By merit, by earning it. That's the kind of environment you want to create. And that's not what we have here in Jamaica. But let's listen to another song now from Mr. Young Garvey. That first one, which is Anti-War, was quite nice to listen to. Let's hear another one. I hope you like this one also. Yeah, this one is pretty nice. You're going to like this, I think. I like it.
Yeah, na 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 na. Yeah, first love never dies. 'Cause you know that first love really never ends. In years that gone by, this love could never end. And I've had other girls in my life since then, but your love could never end.
Yeah, this one is from Mrs. Patterson. The best wife you could ever have, the nicest girl you could ever meet, and I'm very fortunate to have her as mine.
Look how long me and you part, girl, yet still you at my heart. Just looking at your picture bring the memories back. Good times, bad times, I want everything back, yeah. It's hard to hide the way that I feel inside, yeah. And I can't deny you was mine when I made ya. 'Cause you know that first love, it really never ends. Been years that gone by, and this love could never end. And I've had other girls in my life since then, but your love could never end. Managa iit pa ya kaya gana. Even though we're earth, I see you in another man's arm. Me and myself to blame. Living my life in a fast lane, fast like a flying plane. Moving too fast to see your love. See your love. Now I really, really need your love. 'Cause you know that first love, it really never ends. Been years that gone by, yet this love could never end. And I've had other girls in my life since then, but your love could never end. Could never end. Look how long me and you part, girl, yet still you at my heart. Just looking at your picture bring the memories back. Good times, bad times, I want everything back, yeah. It's hard to hide the way that I feel inside, yeah. And I can't deny you was mine when I made ya. 'Cause you know that first love, it really never ends. Been years that gone by, and this love could never end. And I've had other girls in my life since then, but your love could never end. Could never end. Naga iit pa ya kaya gana. Even though we're earth, if I see you in another man's arm. Me and myself to blame. Living my life in a fast lane, fast like a flying plane. Moving too fast to see your love. See your love. Now I really, really need your love. 'Cause you know that first love, it really never ends. Been years that gone by.
Yes, your love will never end. Charlotte Masada Patterson. Incidentally, my wife was indeed my first love. We met in the 8th grade at Spanish Town Secondary. You know, I failed common entrance twice, so I end up in the Dunn School, and I'm very happy that she failed too. So we both ended up in the Dunn School together. So I met her in the 8th grade in Miss Johnson class over by the annex at Spanish Town Secondary. And I remember seeing her for the first time because I got to the school a little bit late, you know. So when I got in, she was already settled in class, and I saw this girl sitting nicely. She was the prettiest girl in the class, you know. Really very sweet personality, always smells good, dresses herself immaculately, very orderly, very, you know, just quite the lady, very responsible, very respectful. And so I went up and I sneak a little kiss, and she gave me one box, you see, one piece of box. But that was the start of great things, you know. After then, we became friends, and we did everything together. When I became president of the student council. She was the secretary. I founded the science club. She became the secretary. I founded the drama club. She became the secretary. I was on the debating team. She was there with me. I became captain of the quiz team, and she was there with me at every match. You know, went to every match together. And when I became head boy, she was also elected head girl as well. So we journeyed all the way from grade 8 to the very end and graduated. And after graduation, unfortunately, she went to Canada to live with her mom. And I went on to Stats for the next 2 years, where I became head boy there as well, and that kind of fun stuff. Then I went to UTech, and she went to college in Canada. But we had made a promise to each other in grade 10, I believe, that when we finish school and finish college, we would get together and we'd get married. And so, you know, right after UTech, she flew back to Jamaica, and we got married. We were 23 years old, and we've been married ever since. It's now 29 years, I think. Yeah, 29 years now. I'm going 30 that we've been married, 3 children. And I think that's the best decision I've ever made. It's been having a partner who is able to work with you, plan with you, organize with you, and be there for you, and push you and motivate you is good and healthy. And so I'm very happy that I still have my first love to this very day. So yeah. So anyways, cool guys. So wheel and come again, selector. Interestingly enough, I used to work on my father's set when I was a boy, little boy. You know, in my teenage years, I used to be a disc jockey. You know, so I would play some old hits and stuff like that for the older folks, and they're always amazed at how much, you know, I was into and could select those, you know, old song, Percy Sledge and, you know, Sanchez and all the nice guys. So yeah, so those were the days. So yeah, everybody, you can go and subscribe to Young Garvey's channel. Look it up, Young Garvey's. You can see him on YouTube, and follow him. Good Vibe says, don't want anyone from the other colonial parties over this side. No, Good Vibes, we welcome everyone. The UIC was really built, you know, to be a uniting force. We want persons who were once in either of the 2 colonial parties, or who were never a part of the political parties, maybe those who were part of other small independent parties. The time has come for us to come together, and that's why we call the UIC, the United Independence Congress. We wanted to unite independent thinkers into a Congress, not even a party, because we don't like parties. We're a party because the system, as it is now, require us to be so-called, so that we can participate at the party level to form the government and then to change the laws. So when the UIC is elected, we're going to convert Jamaica into a non-partisan constitutional republic. And one of the key elements of a non-partisan constitutional republic is that we're going to do away with private funding of candidates or political parties. So what you're going to have are candidates qualifying based on their merits or competencies. And once you meet the requirements, academically, experientially, competence-wise, leadership and managerial, that's attested to, and you take a good governance test and prove that you can, in fact, handle the task of representing other people, dealing with formulating legislation, analyzing, statistical information, demographic information, being able to speak to the issues of governance, understanding civics and economics and so on. Once you've demonstrated you have the core competencies in those areas, you get the same access to newspaper, radio, television, internet, town hall meetings, debates, the very same access. So whether you're rich or poor, you will have, if you're rich, you won't have any advantage because of your money. And if you're poor, you will not be disadvantaged because of your lack of money. In our system, everybody gets an equal opportunity who wants to offer themselves to serve. And our goal is to make sure that those who offer themselves to serve are in fact qualified and competent to serve at the various levels, be it as a MP or a senator or as a minister of government. We're going to make sure we focus on competencies. So you might see, for example, in the UIC, people get very upset because we don't allow just any and anybody to be a candidate. The first requirement to be a candidate is that you live in the constituency that you want to represent. That's number one. You live in the community, the division or the constituency or the parish, whatever. And then number two, you need to have certain core competences. There's no point you being a counselor if you can't even represent yourself, much more represent others. Electoral politics is about representing. So you must be able to communicate effectively. You must be able to read and write effectively. You must be able to analyze effectively. You must be somebody that can reason rationally. So you can't just take up anybody and say you're a candidate. So some people don't like me because I am very strict and stringent about us being careful about who is a candidate of the party. We don't just want 63 heads, talking heads. We want 63 useful heads, So anyways, I strayed a bit. So we're now going to look at another song though from Mr. Young Garvey. Remember, we're talking about reggae, and we're talking about music, we're talking about the revolution, because out of this, music actually plays a revolutionary role. Sometimes, remember back in the days of chattel slavery, the slaves used to use music to communicate with each other in ways that the slave master and their family and their associates who are involved in them may understand. So they communicate using music. So music is a powerful tool. They use music to communicate their joys, their sorrows, and their plans to escape from massa. So here's another song from our good friend Young Garvey that I'm going to share with you now, and see if you like this one as well. It's one that I like. It speaks to what you call it now, wanting to be free from the slavery that is being imposed on us through different forms. Take a
Pro records, say the youths are going crazy. Violence and pressure get the people bad. Every time we turn around another funeral, the youths are free, evil, nobody no second. War zone in the streets, I tell you no lie. The ghetto will be free again. Believe again. From the violence and the pressure where you beat them, the guns that have to seize again. Tired to lose my friends, so when we write the rhyme, them blood that ink up in a pen. Tired that they were. Tell me who you are. How many people you are to send down in a mob? The ghetto will be free again. Believe again. I love the ghetto, need no warmer friend. I have to sit them funeral car. Get a use but think you need a mineral bath. Don't I send time, my soul a positive thought. Cause the road you a walk, I can put you in a box. So you remember mama situation, or those sing fence in a separation. Yeah, and you mean to tell me you want be a good man? My youth took a better occupation. You said that you went to school, but you never learned the golden rule. You make Babylon turn you in a fool. See they know when I use you like tool. But I get to walk free again, believe again. From the violence and the pressure where you beat them, the guns that have to seize again. Tired to lose the friends, so when I write the rhyme, them blood that ink up in a pen. Tired that they war, tell me who you are. How many people you are gonna send on in the mob? The ghetto will be free again, believe again. I love the ghetto, need a warmer friend. All over the world, gunshots fit turn up. Destruction ahead me up, they're gonna turn up. We know so we're poor, but we not to be worse off. No for who no know better, and that the worst part. Keep get on in the box and we want to shoot off. On a second, third, we want be first class. Yes, some me bird start, yes, some me first walk. Get the pain, my feeling on me heart. So the ghetto up be free again, believe again. From the violence and the pressure where you beat them, the guns that have to seize again. Tired for lose my friends, so when I write the rhyme, them blood that ink up in a pen. Tired that they want, tell me who you are. How many people you are gonna send on in a mob? The ghetto will go free again, believe again. I love the ghetto, need no warmer friend. No, hear me no chorus, tell the youth and put the guns them down. Ivy Road, jungle and Rima man, in the same separation. So get a youth stop fight, full time we all unite. Hey, you fit stop fly people brain like kite. Live like brothers in real life. Make the ghetto people free again, believe again. From the violence and the pressure where you beat them, the guns that have to seize again. Tired to lose my friends, so when we write the rhyme, them blood that ink up in a pen. Tired that they war, tell me who you are. How many people you are gonna send on in a mob? The ghetto will be free again, believe again. I love the ghetto, need a warmer friend. No, 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 no. No ghetto youth, full time. Young girl representing Cool Records.
Yeah, another beautiful song, isn't it? I see a lot of comments here though in the chat section. Merlin Fletcher, you heard this one and loved it. Contrast indeed. His music is just clean. He has very clean, very contrast based music. Authentic reggae, really. And I think he's going to really bust out. So make we bust him now. Everybody, just go on Young Garvey's YouTube channel now. Subscribe to his channel. Share it with your family and friends. And let everybody know how to find him. Let me see if I can get his channel link for you and share that on share that with you all right now. I'm going to drop this in the comment box here, and you just go on there and like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, let people know that you really appreciate this young man and the excellent work he's doing to build up the authentic genre of reggae music, Jamaican reggae music, our music. We build it. This is, the beauty of the Jamaican people, that when we are not stopped, we can be so very creative. We can create beyond measure. If you notice, when we go abroad, here in Jamaica, we're being suffocated by the system, suffocated by our own government. We're being turned into criminals by our own government, made corrupt by our own government. And when we leave these shores and we go overseas, where there are more opportunities and in many cases less restrictions, because it's less political in terms of the tribal nature of politics. Like in Canada, when I went to Canada, I grew from nobody. I'll tell you a story. When I went to Canada, I left Jamaica, a very good job. I was assistant manager at the sugar company in the Department of Instrumentation, where I supervised the maintenance of the plant in Monimusk. So every morning I would go down, check to make sure all the scheduled maintenance were done, that all the gauges were working properly, the instruments were indicated appropriately, and everything is in order. And I get a really good salary back then, at a nice place to live in as well. Really good. It was a challenge actually when my wife came and we got married and everything, and she filed for me to come to Canada. It was really a difficult choice. Do I want to leave Jamaica to go to Canada? But I did. And what amazed me when I got to Canada and got settled was how little politics interfered with my day-to-day life. I never once had to go to a councillor or an MP for anything at all, nothing. I've started a number of businesses. I bought businesses, I sold businesses, I created products and solutions and did very well financially from these, and never had to go to see a politician once. I've never met with a single politician concerning business or employment of myself. I may have dealt with them for other things, but never because I'm seeking a business deal or seeking permission or seeking a job or anything like that. Never. And I was able to just grow rapidly in the system. What I accomplished in Canada in the short period of time that I did, by the time I was 35, I was director of finance in the government. What I accomplished in a short period of time, and again, black man, right? Because they say you have racism and so on. I tell people all the time, I've never really felt racism. I understand it. I appreciate what people say. But in my particular experience, because I never allowed my skin color to interfere with my thinking. So I never go into an interview or a presentation or a negotiation thinking I'm black and they're white or whatever. All I think about is, what am I presenting? Have I done the work I need to do? Is the quality what it needs to be? And, have I presented well? Have I sold well? Whatever it is. That's all. I wasn't worried about my color. And so I just lived. I lived in Canada. Let me put it, it's going to sound strange to say it this way, but I lived like a white man, if you will. I never felt devalued or depreciated or felt like I am going to suffer from racism. And I've never had to worry about police officers. As a black man in Canada, police have stopped me for speeding. They've passed through my neighborhoods, stopped at my house. And I've never had any problems with them at all, not even slightly. I just dealt with them, except once. Actually, I had a property once that some people broke into, some young kids broke into, and I actually run them down and caught one of them and tie him up. And the policeman said, "What are you doing? You can't do that. You can't tie up the fellow, And so I was kind of shocked about that the police is saying I shouldn't have done that to somebody that was caught burglarizing one of my rented properties. And so anyways, but generally speaking, it's been a very, it's hard work, because in Canada you have to produce, right? You have to be a producer. If you're going to grow financially, you can try to get by getting on welfare or doing minimal work and getting a minimum wage or whatever. You can survive on that. But I'm talking about if you want to grow, you want to thrive, you want to succeed, you want to achieve. I had no problems except my own self. I had to just overcome my own fears, overcome my own lack, my own limitations. If I needed to learn something, I learned it. I had to learn it. If I needed to understand the different cultural dynamics, because in Canada, you had many cultures there, right? It's a melting pot. You have Chinese, Indians, Pakistani, Filipino, other Caribbean nationals. So everybody's there. So I just learned that I need to just do what I need to do and produce what I need to produce and get there. But in Jamaica, there's this suffocating hand of government that just makes everything government centric, everything political, everything is just difficult. You want to get a permit, you want to you get a ticket. You can't just resolve it easily. It's complicated. You pay your ticket, and then you go to the system. It's not paid. It's not in the system. You have to drive to court here, drive here, spend whole day. Everything is just so inefficient, so ineffective, so destructive. It's destroying our. And that's why we have some of the mental health issues here in Jamaica, because the system of government is too much for the people to bear. It is overbearing. The country is overbearing. Just imagine those who lack the competences. They can't read properly. They can't write properly. They can't communicate properly. They can't comprehend properly. Just imagine how torturous it is to live in a country like this when it is so difficult for persons who have those competences. People who can read and write well, who can comprehend well, who can communicate well, are having such a hard time existing in this burdensome environment. Everything the government does, they make it complex and burdensome and difficult and overbearing for the people. And so we're suffering because of that. Yeah. And they develop that system in order to facilitate corruption. The more complex and the more difficult it is, and the more gatekeepers you set here and there, is the more opportunities you have for corruption. In Canada, to get my vehicle fitness and insurance, and very simple, easy, quick, no problem, done. Here, oh my God, it is everything. Today I heard the Minister of Transport talking about how they're losing millions and millions of dollars from running the bus system because the diesel is being stolen, he says, and parts are being stolen and people are riding for free. We can't get anything right. Our government cannot run a bus service. They can't run a train service. They can't run an airline. They can't run an airport. They can't manage road maintenance. They can't manage schools. They can't plan for, they can't design a system that empowers teachers, that inspires teachers, that retains teachers. They can't do nothing. But yet still they're taking in billions of dollars from us in taxes and cannot deliver. We need to tell them time up. We need to tell these people time up. We need to say to them, enough is enough. We can't deal with you no more. And so our refrain going forward is rise up Jamaica. Tell them time up. Tell these two parties that their time is up. We're tired of them. We don't want no more of them. We now want a UIC government to give us a safe, a clean, a very orderly country, one where we can live, earn, and retire with dignity, one that protects our life, liberty, and property, one that respects our sovereignty as individuals. That's what we want. And we know they can't give it to us because they've had 80 years to do it. And if after 80 years, they cannot give us such a Jamaica, then it's time for us to tell them, time up. Kick them out. Fire them. Bye-bye. Pack your bags and go, in the words of one of their own. And so, let's hear another song now from our good friend, Mr. Young GARVEY. Remember, I hope you have all gone now and clicked on his channel and liked it and subscribed to it and share it with your family and friends so that we can boss him. Because tonight we're going to boss young GARVEY. After this, we're going to get like 100,000 subscribers and more people buying his music and helping him to climb on the charts. So we're going to get there. But one more song now from Mr. Young GARVEY. I'm sorry he's not here with us tonight. I don't know what happened. I've asked in the backstage here for them to try to find out, what's going on, with his connection. But let's hear another song, one more song, and then we will close out with some final thoughts on the good gentleman. So I hope you like this one. Where is it now? Here we go. Here we go.
Hey, don't figure it out that the hardest part in life is just knowing yourself. Can't be no one else, no, no. Just focus on your dreams, cause that's your wealth. In time, you'll find that there's no one to stop you. So smile with the sunshine, give the strength to someone's child. Go, oh, go, go, see the world for what it is. Focus on your dreams, no matter what it is. Oh, when times get rough, you gotta stay positive. Just follow through when time will change up everything. Oh, it's your rebirth, 360 changes. You turn your life around, can't be the same kid. You're getting older now, time to show them now. No one can stop you, only just you. Go, oh, go, go, oh, go, cause in time you'll find that there's no one to stop you. So smile with the sunshine, give the strength to someone's child. Go, oh, go, go,
Beautiful, beautiful song, beautiful song. A different beat, different style. I hope you like it, hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, I see persons talking here. Thank you very much, Malin Fletcher, for your thoughts. I'm very hopeful as well. I see Jamflix in Canada is rife with corruption. The key difference is that once exposed, politicians are forced to resign, or the party that is embroiled in the scandal. Oh yeah, many of these countries are. There's no country without corruption. It's a matter of degree, and the more uneducated the nation is, the easier it is for politicians to get away with corruption. So if you notice, and forgive me for always using Singapore because they've just gone the full length and their process is quite complete, and what was done in the first 25 years of their independence, from Lee Kuan Yew took office in 1965. In that first 25 years, he did all the right things. And one of the first things he did that was right was to make sure that corruption was anathema. He designed the system to go after and to clamp down on those at the top. So anyone at the top who even slightly tried to engage in corruption, the system was designed to nab them immediately and punish them publicly, and in a way that made everybody else afraid of participating in corruption. And that trickled down to the rest of society if you go after those at the top. That is why the UIC policy on corruption and on crime is top down. Yes, you'll have people at the bottom doing stuff, but if you go after the kingfishers, if you go after those who are masterminding and organizing the importations of the guns, who are masterminding and organizing the gun for drug trade, who are organizing and masterminding the gangs in the communities, the politicians who are still to this day, believe it or not, the politicians who are still to this day facilitating the transport of illegal guns into the hands of criminals that they create and facilitate, make sure they are made a solid example of quickly and immediately. The same thing for the corporate executives, those in the PSOJ elites that participates in white collar and other forms of crimes, colluding with our politicians and outside forces. Go after them. Let us get them at the top and make them a public example, and you'll see a change in behavior at the rest of the societal level. So that was key. So he made sure to do that. The second thing, though, that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew did, which was critical and which the UIC is big on, you must invest in building your human capital quickly, getting the minds of your people up to a level where they understand governance. Right now, when I go to a community in Balaclava or Shiloh or Braze River or Santa Cruz and talk about good governance, that's generally a nebulous idea for most people. It will take a lot of time for me to get them to fully understand what good governance is. But in a well-run country, that's a norm. The people fully understand it. It's fully embedded in their education system. And I'm not talking about civics, because they can introduce civics, but it's not really clear and designed to empower the citizen to question the system, to understand how the system truly works. For example, if you did civics in school back in the days when we had it in the system, what you would have learned is how the system theoretically should work. But substantively, you would not have learned what is really going on. Now, the UIC teaches you what is really yeah. All right, I lost connection for a little bit there, but as I was saying, so that is the key, right? So deal with corruption top down, but deal with making sure that you rightly educate the people. People cannot be rightly educated if they don't understand the political system, if they don't understand the governance system. And there's a reason why they have hid it from you, because they don't want you to understand how they're ripping you off, how they're robbing you, how they're using. Look how they trick us. Look how they were able to get two parties to put up a front to tell us that they're fighting for us, when all you're doing is fighting for scarce benefits and spoils. So they're being funded by the PSOJ oligarchs to fight over the opportunity to run our government so that they can have access to the till, access to our tax dollars, access to being able to to borrow money in our name, waste it, spend some, and thief some. But then the entire cost plus interest is placed on our heads. Jamaica for the last 30, 40 years have been paying back a debt from which the vast majority of us have never benefited. Some of us benefited. Those who were in the political seat, those who funded them to get there, and those who are tribally highly connected to them benefited. But the country at large didn't benefit. And we, the majority, continue to suffer the consequences of those theft, mismanagement, and waste of our resources. So Ransford McLean says, what will happen to the tribalistic JLP and PNP if the UIC takes over governance of Jamaica? Oh, it's very simple. They will now be able to live in a well-run Jamaica. So whether you are a tribalist of one or the other, when the UIC takes over, you're now going to have a better country. You will have an opportunity to honestly earn your bread. And if you don't want to earn it honestly, you'll pay the price of having a good police system, an effective justice system, we'll deal with that accordingly. Sonia Ellis is asking a question or comment. Let me see. When there is no proper separation of duties, there will always be corruption. Jamaica people who makes the laws approve them and select the people who's overseas. Yes, so Miss Ellis, you're right. When there's no proper separation of duties, separation of functions, separation of powers, you have problems like we talk about. Good vibes and lock them up. That will happen to them. Well, of course, if a person is proven guilty, Mr. Good Vibes or Miss Good Vibes, we will definitely, extend the full extent of the law to them. It's similar to having a credit card debt. A borrower is a slave to the lender. That's correct, Miss Janet Graham. So yeah, so we have, my friends, come to the end of our program for tonight. I'm very sorry that Mr. Young Garvey was not able to join us because of technical difficulties, but I hope you had a good flavor, a good taste for the subject matter somewhat, and that you enjoyed the songs that we played today for him. So let's give a rating to the show now, as usual. Give us 100% if we're good, and less than that if we're bad. Please go right ahead. Desmond Gordon, good night. Good to see you on. Lives in Canada right now and works in plumbing. Okay, good. A cyber attack, said Jamflix. Yes, that happens from time to time. So let's give us a rating. How do you rate tonight's program, tonight's show? Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. And after the show is ended, please go back and drop a comment. Sometimes we can't see these comments after the show. So go back and just drop a comment and tell us how you liked what you saw and heard, and make any recommendations, any suggestions. Tell us what you don't like if you don't like something, so we can continue to improve and serve you better. And we have 4 big events coming up. On September 22nd, which is the 2nd anniversary of my arrest, we're going to have a protest action on September 22nd in honor of our 2nd anniversary of the arrest, and also to address some very, very important issues affecting the Jamaican people because of bad governance right now. So mark the date, September 22nd. We're going to have a special protest action in the streets, and we're also going to do a live on the subject matter as well. So that's September 22nd. And then on October 22nd, we're going to have our first ever annual Human Rights Awards dinner, where we're going to have about 15 or so awardees receiving awards for outstanding work that they've done in the area of promoting and defending liberty and justice for all. We're going to have some people from the medical fraternity, some from the social justice arena, some from some vloggers who have done outstanding work. And we're talking right across Jamaica, and some from around the world. We'll have at least one person who is not Jamaican getting an award. And we will also have some persons who have passed away, who have been marginalized. They've done some exceptional work, and they were pushed aside and forgotten and not taught in our schools because the powers that be don't want you to know about them. You know, you might never have heard of Alexander Bedwood, have you? Very important person that really tried, but he was marginalized like they tried to do with Marcus Garvey or Leonard Howell, you know, up in Pinnacle. So we're going to talk about these people and remind us. So a couple of them have passed away and some are presently here. You might be surprised who some of them are. You have seen them on social media, kicking up a storm, doing a great job reaching people and drawing attention to serious issues in our society. So they're going to be awarded for the work that they have been doing. And then November 22nd, we're going to have a summit where we're bringing young people together from across the country to look at the challenges and the opportunities as we face the onslaught of artificial intelligence, high cost of living, mental health issues. We're going to address all these things in the context of young people and how it's affecting them. And then December 22nd, you're going to have the annual Christmas banquet that we have every year. We had it last year. The inaugural banquet was last year. This year we're having it again. It was very well attended, very well supported. People from across the diaspora bought tickets and donated to other Jamaicans. We are looking forward to more of that happening. It's a fundraising banquet. It helps us to raise funds for our candidates to be able to effectively participate in the coming election. So 4 big things: the September 22nd protest action, October 22nd humanitarian award, and the youth summit on November 22nd, and of course December 22nd Christmas banquet. Of course, you realize the theme here, the 22nd, remembering September 22nd, 2001, when we led a march of nearly 500 people, or over 500 people, towards Gordon House, who were stopped. The government sent out all the entire police force, it seemed, to stop us, and they jailed some of us, and sought to make a peaceful demonstration something other than that. But we prevailed, and we stopped them from injecting 80% of the nation against their will. We stood up for your right to choose, that it's your life, it's your body, it's your choice, and there should be no force or fraud in the process. We stood up against medical tyranny, and we'll do it again. We'll stand up against all forms of tyranny, any form of dictatorship. We're going to stand up for our teachers, our police officers, our nurses, our workers who are suffering from low wages, high inflation, and a banking system to wipe out their power. So join us at all of these events coming soon. Thank you. Have a good night, and we'll talk again. All right? Remember to rate the program. Thank you. Take care. We'll go out on a song from Mr. Young Garvey. We'll close out with one last song from him, which I hope you will enjoy. And looking forward to see you again. Take care.
I want to some man. Man, a bad man. Hey, I know more my cash, my youth. Want it fast. See them have no patience now. So them end up done patience now. disrespecting all them parents now. But them can't even go parent now. Say them not have no patience now, so them end up being impatient now. Disrespecting all them parents now. But them style that don't make sense, no. Tell themselves them a hot step a Glock, swing a band killer, nah hesitate for each a one dinner. Them shoot and collect, they make bully connect like the internet. Hey, can't get them the talk of them bigger than Godzilla. They better you walk, protect the life for judge again, yo. Them get a one gun, now them start move reckless. Watch I know them reckless, because them not the patient now. So them end up done patience now. Disrespecting all the parents now. But them can't even go parent now. Say them not the patience now. So them end up being a patient now. Disrespecting all the parents now. But them style that don't make sense, no. Them say them bad, but them not bad like the papa. All them a go on, them not bad like the Zaza. Papa come, bad man run. Zozo come, them dash where them gun. Retreat, defeat. Bad for them from, but them not bad for the beast. JLO style, sleep on concrete. No pillow, no shit. Bad man style. See them not the patience now. So them end up done patience now. Disrespecting all the parents now. But them can't even go parent now. Say them not have no patience now. So them end up being a patient now. Disrespecting all the parents now. But them style that don't make sense, no. Jah know look how the place stay. Tourists that want forward a JA. The crime rate higher than a spy plane. If you think too hard, you get a migraine. Them style are not good for we culture. After none, we no grow like no vulture. One love, and that a feel we slogan. Come together, just like devotion. See them not have no patience now. So them end up done patience now. Disrespecting all them parents now. And them can't even parent now. Main production, Young Garvey, One Nation. Yeah, whoa. No patience now. See them now, no patience now. Boy, boy, boy.
Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. You I see.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together. Come we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Non-partisan, constitutional Republic of Jamaica. You see the sovereignty of every citizen should be protected. Life, liberty and property of everyone should be equal with safety. Free and orderly social market, that a way all can live and earn it. Gonna be stronger together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together. Come we all just unify. Our purpose is is a better Jamaica for you and I. Ah, yeah, change the people, them ready for no for suck blood like a them named Dracula. Looking at the ghetto sufferation regular. Pressure bus pipe revolution we ready for. Can't get no change if the system no change, if the government remain all the same. If you take with them vice and I give them the choice, all you want to hear them complain. Gonna be stronger together, together we